Death Valley is famous for pushing environmental limits. At 282 feet below sea level, Badwater Basin is the lowest, hottest point in North America. Most of the time, this place is nearly 200 square miles of absolute desolation. It is an endless expanse of dry, bone-white salt flats baking under the sun. The name Badwater actually comes from an old legend. A weary traveler crossing this terrain finally spotted a spring-fed pool, but his mules flatly refused to drink from it because the water was saturated with accumulated salts. Out here, the defining rule of the landscape is extreme dehydration. Historically, surviving this valley meant knowing to avoid the toxic water rather than seeking it out. But recently, intense weather completely broke those normal rules, creating a bizarre anomaly right in the middle of the desert. As you descend from the surrounding mountains onto the valley floor, you can physically feel the shift. The air gets noticeably thicker and warmer, swinging 20 degrees by the time you reach the basin. And when you pull up to the parking lot, the dry salt crust is gone. Instead, you are looking at a massive temporary lake. Wading out into it is completely surreal. You step past the muddy edges into freezing, crystal-clear water, and the floor crunches beneath your boots like a beach made entirely of sharp shells. So how does a massive body of water suddenly manifest in a geographical dead zone? And why is witnessing this lake such a rare, fleeting payoff? The immediate trigger for this strange oasis was a massive influx of rain, driven into the region by Hurricane Hilary. The storm dumped a destructive volume of water onto an arid landscape that is completely unequipped to absorb it, washing out roads and pulling huge amounts of mud and debris with it. This cross-section illustrates why water had nowhere to go. Death Valley is a massive, enclosed depression far below sea level with zero drainage outlets. Acting like a giant bathtub, gravity forces storm runoff down the steep canyon walls to pool at the absolute lowest point. This lake acts as a terminal puddle, a temporary collection of storm runoff with no escape route. Yet this fleeting flooding offers a brief geographical flashback to the valley's prehistoric default state. During the Pleistocene era, the last ice age, this exact spot held a massive, enduring body of water known as Lake Manly. On this map of the modern valley, picture an ancient sea expanding 100 miles across the landscape. This elevation chart shows it held a massive volume of water, rising up to 600 feet and completely submerging today's terrain. High on the eastern cliffs, a sign marks exactly where sea level sits today, providing a direct reference for how deep this valley once was. 20 miles south of the basin, at Shoreline Butte, the landscape preserves a different record of that era. Dozens of parallel, horizontal benches are etched directly into the dark volcanic rock. Those grooves were physically worn away by the splashing waves of the original Lake Manly. The mountains of Death Valley are essentially an architectural fossil, preserving the exact scale of an ocean that vanished thousands of years ago. Back in the present day, the modern return of Lake Manly faces an immediate threat: the brutal arrival of the summer heat. The intense temperatures quickly accelerate evaporation, pulling the moisture out of the basin and turning those shallow waters straight into vapor. Once that moisture is entirely stripped away, the basin will inevitably dry out, reverting to its desolate, bone-white crust of salt. Landscapes that look completely permanent are highly dynamic over deep time. A single intense storm flooded a desert and briefly awakened the dormant memory of an ancient Earth.